We are just 1 week away from the primary here in Colorado, and all eyes are on the governor's race. Now, Governor Jared Polis doesn't have a primary challenger, but there are two Republicans competing. Denver 7 political reporter Megan Lopez sat down with Heidi Ganahl and Greg Lopez to talk about their top priorities.
So Heidi Ganahl, running for governor.
Greg Lopez here. Tell me why you think that you would be the best candidate for the job.
So I understand the issue that deals with crime and transportation and air quality and development and all the things that the state is facing. I think right now what people are looking for is a voice that they can relate to, someone that they can truly feel that cares about them.
What I hear around the state is folks are really upset and frustrated about government overreach, whether it's taxes, fees, regulations, moving industries out of Colorado like the energy industry.
Do you trust the results of the 2020 election? And do you trust that our elections are secure?
Well, I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I could win, but I am worried about people's lack of confidence in their vote.
Do you believe in mail-in voting?
Yes, I think for the single mom who can't, take a day off to go vote, or the busy teacher or farmer or rancher who can't, figure out how to leave their crops for a day to go do that, it's very important to have that available.
I do believe that our elections need to be fine-tuned.
So is that to say that you have doubts about our system? I mean, what's your...
I do. We're not the gold standard by any stretch of the imagination.
And so if that's the case, how can you trust this system to elect you to the governor's mansion if you have doubts about the very system that's needed to get you there?
Because I'm going to trust the people. I'm going to trust the people. I'm going to trust the poll watchers. I'm going to trust the election judges. There's nothing that we can do until we wait to see what the voice of the people has to say.
What do you think the governor can do in terms of inflation? What control do you think that they have over inflation, and what do you plan on doing about it?
So in regards to inflation, I believe there's a lot a governor can do. First and foremost, reduce the regulation that is suffocating small business owners across this state.
Well, it's not that the governor has much control over inflation, but he definitely has a voice. He's not talking about what the president should and shouldn't be doing. As governor, I would be mandating for the president to remove some of these restrictions.
How much control do you think the governor really has over the president?
I think he's got a lot of influence, not control.
Do you believe in man-made climate change, and what do you think Colorado's role in our climate should be?
Well, I certainly believe man has a role in it, but I think we've gone too far, too fast.
The science is still out. Right? You talk to scientists, is it man-made? You'll talk to some and say, no, it's not that impactful. So I'm not the expert.
And what's your stance on abortion?
I support all life. All lives matter, even the unborn.
What if the doctor did say it's the life of the mother or the life of the baby? I mean, how do you make that decision if all lives matter?
Well, it's a medical decision that the doctor's making. Look,
so then is abortion okay if it
well,
really
again,
is the life of the mother?
It's not an abortion, right? Everybody wants to say it's an abortion. The family decides and the doctor decides from a medical standpoint, which is a life that we can preserve. It's not the life that we're going to terminate.
I believe that the bill that just passed this last session is not how the people of Colorado feel. Abortion until birth is not something that I can support.
You've said in previous interviews that you don't believe in abortion except for the cases of rape, incest, the health of the mother, and I believe in one interview you said the health of the fetus. What did you mean by the health of the fetus?
I'd focus on a decision between the mom and the doctor on that issue, but if a fetus passes away and you expect the mom to carry it full term, then that might be an instance where you could take action sooner.
Heidi Ganahl?
Greg Lopez, running for governor, just have a little bit more than a week left before big primary day. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.